So good morning and good afternoon and good evening to you all. We are here at the Global Matrix Readers Theater, and I welcome new and old people to our reading of our script, which I thought was kind of an interesting one, How Violence is Ended. And I guess I chose this because given what's going on with Russia and the Ukraine, it has really brought to focus our attention to wars, even though there are many wars still going on all around the world. This one now is sort of taken top priority. And my question is, I don't understand why wars happen. I don't understand why wars happen. So I thought that this would be sort of an interesting script to be able to read and then to talk about our own feelings about what's going on in the world. And maybe what can we do to make changes that are necessary for these things to perhaps stop. What did you think of the story? Those that were listening, what were you getting out of it? Can anybody share? Christine, you wanted to observe. There you go. What did you think?
I kept all the way through. I kept thinking of Mr. Putin.
Oh, yes.
And the Ukrainian leader. And I was thinking, how could that equate with what has been done to their people? Could he turn the other cheek? Which, in Western religion, that's what we say. Can you turn the other cheek when someone hurts you? I thought it was very relevant to today's society. Where is it going to end? Is it going to end by one person offering the hand of friendship, or is it not?
Good question, isn't it? Yeah. Anybody else want to comment on the story or the thoughts behind it?
Yes.
Yes.
Gogo, I'm sure will understand what I'm talking about. Ancient Greek tragedy. Hate against hate, and the most important thing, Gogo, that was amazing for me. They denied to do the ritual, the funeral ritual thing for his parents, which is amazing. In Antigone, the sister cries and tries to do the same thing for her dead brother. We have to respect our dead people and pay the honor, the thing that we have to do. We're talking about a religion 1,000 miles away, while opposed to ancient Greek tragedy 5 centuries before before Jesus was born. It's amazing. These things are the important things: life and death. Everything else, it's unnecessary.
What I'd like to say is actually in history, Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela did have violence in the beginning, but then they realised the only way forward was non-violence.
I could recall Ashoka. There's another emperor who's very famous, and he also won the War of Kalinga, and it was disastrous. Many people from his army and the other army died, and at the end, it was a self-realization. What did I get? So many people died, and that was the time when he renounced everything and he started following Buddha. And but it came later. It came when everything was devastated. Everything was, but still maybe for the next wars, which could have happened if could not have happened, then something was saved out of it. That's what.
So what are the cause of a war? What prompts people to go to war? What is it? Power.
Power.
Yeah.
Power and control.
And control, yes.
Nelly?
Yeah, control
Control.
the world.
Greed.
And a huge ego.
Greed.
And ego.
Greed, yeah.
And greed. Everybody wants more and more. They can't have enough.
And so they want what some other person or some other country has and takes that.
Yes,
for their
yeah.
own.
But
So
still, never enough.
And what is interesting now with what's going on now is that probably everybody is going to suffer. Every country is going to go through economic decline.
Yes,
standard of
everybody.
living.
Right.
Everybody will suffer because of one man.
Hmm.
yeah,
I
and
think
I just was looking,
lack of spiritualism also. I mean, not just religion. I don't follow religion, but spiritualism is something else.
Mhm.
So it mentioned about eightfold. There are other seven. In fact, now they say there is a ninth, the ninth rule or the ninth this also, which is gratitude. So once you have gratitude, once you're thankful for what you have, you will not have greed for gaining more.
Nicely put. I like that. So a
And the
little,
interesting thing is that nobody can take it with them. When we leave this world, we arrive exactly as we came into it, with nothing.
nothing. That's right. So
So-
is war a form of bullying?
Mm.
You know, it was one of the questions that I had that I actually used in the introduction was, you know, we pay huge amounts of money to try and teach our students not to bully, right? And yet they see this kind of thing. I actually did look that up, and it made a distinction between conflicts and bullying. It says bullying is different from a conflict. A conflict is a disagreement or an argument in which both sides express their views.
Mm.
Bullying is negative behavior directed by someone exerting power and control over another person.
Mm.
So what do you think? Is bullying a
I think it's also interesting that we tell our children not to bully and not to do certain things, but the role model they have is us, the adults.
That's right. So think about the amount of money that schools and people spend on curriculum to teach people not to bully, you know, and to be respectful of each other and to treat people as you want to be treated yourself. And yet here we have Russia, right? And that's only in just one of the wars that's going on. There are over 57 armed conflicts worldwide, some of which have been going on for 75 years.
Mm.
And when I was in Cameroon, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I met some absolutely beautiful people, well-educated, really working hard towards the development of education for their children. And now they're all in exile. And many of the schools that I worked with are destroyed. Do you know what the conflict is over? And why the war? It's over language.
Mm.
They want them to all be French speaking. And this area is English. So the government is trying to force people into leaving English and speaking only French. And because of that, people are being killed, people are in exile, away from countries, they're off in the jungles or whatever. I mean, really? What can we do? How can we help our learners better understand when, as Christine, you said, we put them in the classroom, right? And we try to get them to understand why bullying is wrong. The minute they leave the classroom, it's global. So how do you help them understand this kind of thing?
But
think
I
Tracy-
believe that it's an earth school that we live on.
You believe what, Ellie?
It's an earth school that we live on. And what we're going through are lessons and adventures every day. And if we don't learn those lessons, they keep coming up again and again. So if we keep promoting violence, it's going to perpetuate itself. So the more that we can actually have kindness in the world and teach kindness, and as you said, treat people as you want to be treated. There's no value in life, it seems, with people like Putin, and no value in life. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like to think my life is extinguished now, when I feel I've got so much more I want to do. Life has to be valued. Everyone has a gift to bring to the world.
Yes, they do. Do you think
Right.
it has anything to do with lack of education and knowledge of who the other people are? And
Lack of education.
But not always education, because of course in a country, it's a democratic country, you really, I mean, unless if it's a democratic country, you have your say. Otherwise it's like in a communist countries, you, even if the person is educated, you really have, they follow, even if they're educated, they are not against the war.
so here we all are coming together from different countries, different backgrounds, different cultures, to look at something which affects us no matter where we live, or what our religion is, or who we think the other people are, because we don't have that opportunity to have honest exposure and discussions with people. That's one of the things that I really like about the GMRT. It opens us up to being able to do that.
I tell stories, I tell them anecdotes. So I tell them life is a boomerang. Whatever you do, it'll come back to you. Maybe if not this life, maybe in some other life. So
Yes.
do good. If you want to be treated good, I mean, if you do good, of course you'll be treated good. Do what, I mean, before doing any action, think twice. What will you feel if something or someone does the same to you? And there was a very nice video on YouTube, if you can find out. It's about how plants were, it's an IKEA advertisement, and there were two plants. One was bullied, given negative treatment, and the other plant was given just positive manifestation, and the results, you would know. So if you get time, try to find that IKEA advertisement. I show them in the class, and they were, they actually had goosebumps looking at it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So Christine, you were saying something too. You had something you wanted to say?
I was probably going to be a bit controversial, but that was why I was so sad when the UK left Europe, because the Erasmus program was bringing countries together.
Yes, absolutely.
When you work with a country or a university or a college and schools from 5 or 6 different countries, you have to get on. You have to achieve something. You have to achieve whatever it is that you've committed to. Sometimes we had disagreements. We felt there were different ways of doing things. So we just got together and said, well, we'll talk about this, and what are we going to do? How are we going to achieve it? And I just to this day, I still regret. I put 20 years into Erasmus, and I believed in it. And it did, for me, it did what it said on the tin.
Yeah.
And we haven't got that anymore. So where are we? we're in the middle of a European war.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an author and artist called Oliver Jeffers, and he had this art installation, and it was the earth, but it didn't have any boundaries. So it was like all the countries, but there were no dividing lines. And what he was trying to get over was, you know, we're a global community.
Now
And
more than ever.
I totally believe with Christine about the EU thing. I just think we should be growing together as a community and not splitting up.
Yes, a global village. And then Lyla says, peace comes from within. You know, I always get frustrated by the Sunday churchgoers. You know, they go to church on Sunday, they sing, they pray, they want to be forgiven for whatever they did over the week. And then Monday, it's just back to business as usual, you know, it's like, and when I studied briefly Judaism, one of my biggest questions was, is there a heaven? You know, is there a heaven that we can expect to go to? And it was interesting because the rabbi said, if you do well while you're living on earth and you treat people well and you respectful and so forth, then if there's a heaven, you're bound to go there. And if there isn't a heaven, what have you lost? How many people think about and live for their afterlife?
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's great, live for the afterlife, but do well in this life. Now, while you're here, what can you do to create a better place, a better environment surrounding you, surrounding the world? It's really up to us to do that. And as Christine said, you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. Do good while you're here. And then if there's a heaven, you'll go to heaven. And if there's not, you haven't lost any.
I tell you who else makes some very good points, and that's the Dalai Lama. I love to listen to some of the teachings that he pronounces on things that are happening. But he doesn't actually refer to the circumstances. It just comes out with something that is so, you know what he means, but he's actually using words and language that apply to anything, any circumstance. And I try and follow some of the words and the teachings that he gives. So it's quite sad that he's almost a lone figure, because he hasn't got a country, and he's been denied, but he's still got a voice, and that's his voice still carries all around the world.
Yes, yeah. Voice is very important. And that's important. I mean, you know, for us to be able to have voice, this sort of reading the script gives us that opportunity to share and have voice with our thoughts and our thinkings, as it does for our students when we use these kinds of things. It allows them a safe place to express how they're feeling and what they're thinking. That's very important. Are there anybody else want to comment? Lyla, it's good to see you here. Do you want to say hello? And you sort of came in on the end. Or Musa?
Can I say something?
Yes,
Oh,
thank you so much. Thank you so much for this session. So maybe I want to add something due to those you have already made. It's just only an addition. So according to me, I believe each and everyone has their own background, where maybe there is some of the life stories they pass through. But I have come to realize in order to involve maybe people on the violence, the end of the violence as just our topic. So we need also to look for the suitable opportunities whereby you can just recruit those interested stakeholders or leaders or in our community. So through that, when there is some events, maybe we can just say creating some plays, maker spaces, maybe songs, speeches, and so on and so forth. So I do hope from that way, you can find that people are most involved in violence in order to avoid such kind of violent situation. Whereby, like for now, in the world, you found that Europe is the first country where they have been seen that they are trying their level base to winding up the violence. Like for now, through the Erasmus project they are just doing right now. So you found that they are just uniting people together, knowing that we are together in the world. We can just create a better world for each and everyone. So that's only my addition. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Musa. And of course, you would certainly understand well, being that you are in a refugee camp.
Yeah.
Leave your country and leave for a refugee camp, and the work that you're trying to do to bring education and a better life to the people who are there in the camp.
That's good. It's just a good idea.
Yes, it is a good idea.
I would like to say something.
Yes, Georgia.
Okay, first of all, I think that these people who rule the world now cannot change in any way, no matter how hard the other people try. And war, and every war is not based only on greed. War is a whole business. So people manufacture weapons and other people buy these weapons.
Mhm.
So war can never stop because some people make money out of it, like what happens with drugs, in the case of drugs. What we do have to do, like educators, is to try to educate young generations, our little kids, not to take anything for granted, and to always remember that the fact that they were born, let's say, in Europe, or out of two parents who loved them, or in a white skin, etc., was because it was pure luck that placed them in that specific place. So, for example, I could be born in Syria and war might have hit me. They never have the right to make fun of people considered inferior to them just because their luck was better than theirs. And not to take anything for granted. I can hear my students, like every student, I'm not saying that my students are lazy, that they hate school, they are bored with school, etc. And I tell them there are kids who don't have school buildings now, who can't attend school because of wars, etc. Don't take things for granted. You are blessed to be able to go to school. So we need to educate them, not only to teach them maths and letters and how to write and how to speak, which is equally important. We should also educate them on other things as well. Teach them gratitude, teach them respect for life, teach them not to be greedy, teach them to be grateful for what they have. Now we have lost the game. We should start with the young kids. That's all.
May I?
Yes, Kalliopi. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
you.
Okay. So also to what Georgia just said, love, teach love. And according to what you said before, I mean, what you said really applies in what I'm saying. It's my motto, okay? People usually say, don't do what you don't want others to do to you. But the point is like, do what you want others to do to you. I mean, like do the loving things, do the good things. And also what you said, because my son keeps asking me that, like in religion, why should we follow like Christ saying, why should we be good and stuff like that? You go like, you do that because you can see when you do good, you see other people being good around you. This is so cool. So I'm really blessed. And I feel that like everybody who does good is really blessed to actually have something back in this life. And you feel it. I mean, you feel the love everywhere.
Welcome, Jeff. It's good to see you. It's been a while since you've been able to join us. You came.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry I came late, but I've tried my best. Sorry for that.
Yes, there's an indigenous story where the elders would sit in a circle, and in the middle they would light a fire, and they would decide that any decision they made had to be about the future of their children, and it was called the Circle of Fire, so that, you know, they actually could not make a decision without thinking about the generations ahead. And that comes from the ancient wisdom of the indigenous people. And I just wish that would come back, that any decision made by global leaders would be how is this going to affect our children and grandchildren? Putin, why are you not thinking about that?
Yes. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining today. Our next open session, because we have it on the 1st and the 3rd Sundays of the month. So our next one is on June 5th.